It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but
It's
isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct.
Sunny Hostin just took a brutal verbal 1-2 punch from Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly. A hit so sharp it played out like a live TV ambush no one saw coming. 1 second, she was calmly sipping tea on The View, carrying herself like she owned the conversation. And the next, she looked completely thrown, as if she'd tripped over her own notes and lost the room in real time. What unfolded on screen left her blinking and stalled, like someone had suddenly cut the power to her train of thought at the worst possible moment. And Bill Maher didn't hesitate for even a heartbeat. This clash spiraled with more chaotic energy than a reality show stitched together by burned out interns surviving on caffeine and sheer panic.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate.
Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly, two figures who have never waited for permission to speak with razor clarity, clearly reached their limit with Sunny Hostin and her non-stop attempts to dominate every exchange intellectually. Maher came in swinging with his dry, scorched earth sarcasm, while Megyn followed with cool surgical breakdowns that sliced straight through the noise. And together they turned Sunny's familiar soapbox into something resembling a shaky IKEA stool rocking on uneven ground. The entire moment felt less like a debate and more like an academic demolition derby. Sunny arrived armed with a glitter glue stick, while the other two rolled in with fully loaded bulldozers already accelerating toward impact.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So she was, everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide.
Let's start with Sunny Hostin's signature move, swinging her law degree like a glowing badge of unquestionable authority, as if credentials alone can instantly silence any room. Her resume might as well be printed in bold letters across her forehead. Former federal prosecutor, legal analyst, professional finger wagger, and self-appointed expert on nearly everything. But let's be honest, when someone opens with "as a lawyer," there's a strong chance what follows will be predictable, unnecessary, or wildly off target, and somehow Sunny manages to deliver all three at once. It plays out like a dramatic legal TED Talk loaded with confidence but light on substance, wrapped in a tone that insists she's always the smartest voice at the table.
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with...
What's genuinely striking is Sunny Hostin's talent for twisting almost any subject, whether it's a harmless TikTok trend or something as trivial as the proper temperature for storing mayonnaise, into a full-blown lecture on racial injustice. She could witness a puppy rescue and still convert it into a speech about systemic oppression, all while sounding fully convinced she's uncovered some buried conspiracy. It plays out like the human embodiment of a chaotic social media feed, loud, theatrical, and committed to misreading everything on purpose. And at times, she gets so tangled in her own logic that even Whoopi Goldberg looked visibly strained trying to sit through the spectacle, unfolding right beside her.
Any term you want. Okay. Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
maybe the super far right. Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sunny Hostin didn't just get challenged, she was completely flattened in a philosophical demolition derby, and the only thing she kept intact was her familiar look of moral disappointment. Holding strong opinions is one thing, but turning every exchange into a theatrical sermon from the peak of condescension is something else entirely, and that's become Sunny's permanent role on the panel. She isn't engaging in discussions, she's staging courtroom dramas where she plays the lead, the jury, and the applause cue all at once. The problem is that Maher and Megyn Kelly don't follow that script. They don't need constant validation, because facts, wit, and sharp logic flip the dynamic instantly. And when Sunny gets boxed in by basic realities, she doesn't recalibrate, she just turns up the volume, as if louder delivery alone could somehow transform weak arguments into brilliance.
And finally, new rule, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Bill Maher, seasoned and completely unbothered, watched the moment unfold with the detached patience of a professor grading yet another essay titled "Why I'm Always Right," and he didn't even need to step in because Sunny Hostin's monologue collapsed on its own. With every sanctimonious breath, she sank deeper into a rhetorical pit, packed with buzzwords, rehearsed outrage, and layers of self-congratulation that practically clouded the room. Then Megyn Kelly entered, calm, razor-precise, almost surgical in how she dismantled the entire display without raising her voice or leaning on theatrics. She simply stripped away Sunny's polished mask of forced seriousness, piece by piece, until all that remained was recycled indignation caving in under its own weight.
They had a discussion on The View about world superpowers from the sound of it. That's how they got into it. And Sunny Hostin made some comments about patriotism and America and Black America. It's all in there, Jason. I mean, it's all in there. I'm going to tee it up. It starts with Alyssa Farah, who's supposed to be the Republican commentator. And then you'll hear Sunny jump in. Listen.
If America is not the #1 global power, it's not going to be Denmark. It's going to be communist China, a country that right now the government is imprisoning Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps. It is a deeply racist government. It's a human rights violating government. It is a government that if they are the leader of the free world, we are not a free world the way that we are right now.
The notion of patriotism and the notion of America and the American flag has been co-opted by the right as if they are true patriots. But when I listen to Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, he said white supremacy is the biggest domestic threat to this country.
Sunny Hostin's entire routine hinges on one condition: never being directly challenged, because she thrives in extended monologues, not real dialogue, where everything is accused, dramatized, and moralized into her personal script. But when someone like Megyn Kelly calmly punctures that carefully inflated bubble of authority, the collapse is immediate and impossible to miss. What followed wasn't a minor slip or a passing error. It was a full-scale ideological stumble that left her scrambling for balance. When your whole persona rests on fragile scaffolding built from moral posturing, even mild disagreement feels like an earthquake ripping through the structure. And this time, that shaky house of cards didn't just sway, it came apart spectacularly in a moment so awkward it practically echoed across the studio.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th. Of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed. If you ask them, as we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of
January
The View
6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust and slavery.
Megyn Kelly, whose mere presence seems to trigger Sunny Hostin like an alarm slicing through a silent room, doesn't even have to speak before Sunny's tone spikes the instant her name is mentioned. Megyn brings a rare and apparently controversial skill to The View, the ability to speak plainly using facts, coherent logic, and verifiable sources treated on that panel like forbidden knowledge, mention data, walk through a timeline without dramatic sighs or emotional theatrics. That's practically viewed as a threat to the entire ecosystem. So while Sunny clutches her pearls and reacts to yet another imagined political crisis stitched together from vague commentary, Megyn calmly dismantles the narrative with infuriating precision, citing sources, using numbers, and explaining without raising her voice, creating a startling display of composure and clarity, the two traits that seem most unwelcome at that table.
I want you to note the tone they all talk with him. I want you to look at Sunny Hostin's body language and the way they look at him and everything else. Just because he is a lefty who hasn't gone completely bananas, here they are talking about the word woke.
The term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and so
migrate.
why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate.
Sunny Hostin arrives armed with emotional smoke, dramatic outbursts, and hand motions that resemble interpretive routines meant to symbolize oppression, while Megyn Kelly responds with calm, precise reasoning that cuts through the noise instantly. It's like watching someone bring a coloring book to a chess tournament, then erupt when the opponent actually understands how the pieces work. You could practically see Sunny's thoughts short circuit every time Megyn referenced real data, logic, or history. Her fallback was retreating into a fortress of indignation, arguing as if basic math could be rewritten by emotion, then acting stunned when Megyn calmly corrected the record. And the confusion doesn't end there. Sunny seems to mistake sarcasm for hostility and humor for attack, making her reactions even more exaggerated and increasingly baffling to watch.
Whoopi Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended because you know who showed up.
Yeah.
And he was, whether he was asked or not. This
So he
is a
was
man
invited.
who didn't care what happened to the officers on January 6th.
She promotes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris every day on that show. Trump wasn't supportive enough of the cops who were, yes, in danger on J6th. How does that explain their behavior on a daily basis?
It's 2026, and somehow Sunny Hostin still hasn't absorbed the basic reality that comedians exist to joke about everyone. That's literally the foundation of the job. Expecting Bill Maher not to poke fun at public figures is like walking into a bakery and acting stunned that they sell bread. Yet every time Maher makes even a mild remark, Sunny reacts as if someone just climbed onto a table and read her entire middle school diary out loud, complete with doodles and a forgotten poem about justice. She clutches her pearls and gasps in disbelief, treating personal offense as if it's a valid rebuttal to a comedy monologue. But the real centerpiece of the chaos was her painfully awkward attempt to out-intellectualize Maher and Megyn Kelly. She tossed out historical references with the accuracy of spaghetti thrown at a wall, hoping something would stick, yet most of it landed as unfocused noise. Half-formed legal jargon followed, launched with dramatic flair to sound profound, but it came off like someone who skimmed Wikipedia over breakfast, leaving even a courtroom stenographer ready to pause in exhausted confusion.
Last week you called white Republican women cockroaches.
Actually, I didn't. And
You said they're acting like cockroaches.
I used in a similar. Let me answer that.
Okay,
I used
so
a metaphor.
here's what I'm going to ask you all to do. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to tone it down a bit because I can't hear anything.
Let
No
me
one can hear
respond.
what's being
But she
said.
just said I
Do you
called white women
understand why
roaches.
people-
All right, we're
because
going to
I
go to
didn't.
break. We're going to break. Can't take it.
Bill Maher, calm as a frozen lake sealed in ice, leaned back and let Sunny Hostin's dramatic tirades bounce off him like foam darts hitting concrete. This wasn't his first walk through an ideological minefield. He's been navigating these debates since the early days of dial-up internet, and that patience was on full display. You could practically see decades of media experience rolling its eyes every time Sunny tried to nail him to a metaphorical cross of righteous outrage. Fully convinced she was crafting a grand show-stopping finale destined for a viral montage from accounts like Woke Warrior Queen. But Maher looked mentally checked out, already halfway to imagining his third glass of red wine and quietly checking his flight time, while she pushed her monologue forward with the determination of someone who hadn't realized the audience had already clocked out.
And by the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
Megyn Kelly didn't need to raise her voice. Her calm, razor-precise replies made Sunny Hostin look like she was being quietly dismantled piece by piece, turning the exchange into something that felt less like a debate and more like a slow, controlled unmasking. Sunny behaved as if reality were just another opinion she could rewrite, clinging to the belief that her outrage was always justified and that disagreement automatically meant wrongdoing. She doesn't debate. She stages judgment rituals where she plays judge, jury, and prosecutor, expecting applause between commercial breaks while leaning on condescension, selective numbers, and emotional stories that cloud more than they clarify. The moment another woman pushes back, especially Megyn, any notion of sisterhood disappears, replaced by immediate combat. Her unraveling peaked when she shifted from losing the argument to claiming moral victimhood, her familiar escape when logic dries up and emotion runs out, prompting her to brand the other person as dangerous. Bill Maher didn't bite. He simply pointed out how absurd the situation had become, leaving Sunny scrambling for composure as viewers searched for clarity. In the end, her collapse wasn't physical, it was ideological, the breakdown of a worldview that couldn't survive direct challenge, and no matter how loudly she protested, the conclusion was unavoidable. Sunny Hostin was exposed on live television.